this is Aaron. So, I had a few requests to do a video on my Manilla Road records, and so that's what this one's going to be. I have a couple new arrivals, but there are a couple more things on the way, so I think I'm going to hold off on that one. It's kind of my second attempt, actually. I tried to make this one in the other room the other night where the shitty camera is, but the computer crashed on me. So, there's a really good soda that y'all missed out on, but that's just too bad. Actually, it's too bad for me because I have to buy another bottle. But tonight, what we've got is this Moxie Original Elixir. And it actually, that's all it says. So I kind of suspect this is going to be a cola. It says distinctively different, though. It also says established 1884. So that ought to be good medicinal, right? But I don't really have any idea what to expect from this. Like I said, I expect it to be a cola, but I don't know. So we'll see. So, oh yeah, I didn't tell you where it's from. I always like to do that. This is from Bedford, New Hampshire. Produced under the authority of the Cornucopia Beverage Company. It does have cane sugar. It also has caffeine. So. Yeah, that's Spencer's. This is really its own thing. I mean, it's kind of cola-y. It's kind of cola-y, but there's a lot of... It's really heavily, like, spiced. It's spicy, not, like, hot, like, you know, a Blenheim's or something like that. But it's, it has, like, a peppery sort of thing going on to it. And it's really good. It's more refreshing than you'd expect it to be, too. I'm actually a little bit thirsty. I had a glass of water, but it wasn't quite enough. This is kind of hitting the spot. It's really, it's a good soda. He'll leave another hit of that. Yeah, this one's definitely worth a try if you see it around. I'd never seen it before. I came across it at Southern Season up the street from me.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, Southern Season is sort of like a local equivalent of like a Whole Foods or something like that. So it's not the cheapest place. But it's no, it's not like that. It's more like a Whole Foods. But it's but they have some sodas there, and I came across this one there, and I recommend it if you see it. So anyway, let's get down to business here. So pulled up with the Manilla Road records. It's about that many. So a decent number, and I'll go through them chronologically. More or less chronologically. It's sort of modified chronologically. So this is the very first one. This is Invasion, and this is a Roadster press. It's a second press. The first press had like a blue border, and those are really expensive. I kind of lucked into... These aren't exactly cheap anymore either, but I kind of lucked into this one. There have been a couple reissues of it. There was one that Cult Metal Classics out of Greece did a few years ago. God, maybe 10 years ago now. And then I think High Roller might have done it more recently than that too, but I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on just because it's kind of quiet in here. There's the Roadster label. One of the songs on this one. This is definitely the most sort of 70s one. Street Jammer, that song on there. One of the last times I saw Slough-Feg, they actually did that song as part of their set. So this is a great record anyway, but I have a little sort of extra sentimental attachment to that. So let's fire this up so you have a little music going. And this is definitely early on. I mean, I didn't really talk about Manilla Road very much, so I'm kind of assuming you know them, but they're really one of my favorite metal bands. And it's one of those bands that's, it's funny, they're sort of analogous to Pink Floyd a little bit in my head. They don't sound anything like them, but they kind of have a prog thing going on, and the analogy comes from the fact that if you keep listening to them over time, you kind of hear more and more layers of stuff in there. And there's definitely a distinctive sound, especially Mark Shelton, the singer. He has a really unusual sounding voice that you'll hear. It takes a little bit of getting used to. But, you know, on top of sort of the proggy element that they had, it was definitely sort of like on the prog metal end of things. Like, I just want to compare to Merciful Fate for that reason, even though they're pretty different from that. On top of that, they went through a lot of different phases. So, like, this one is really 70s influenced, and so is the second one, really. They made some kind of standard 80s sounding metal in the middle of the 80s that I'll get to. And they sort of went through these different periods, but there was still that distinctive Manilla Road sound sort of underneath it all. It's interesting to hear the same band sort of trying out different styles, but keeping a similar sort of songwriting style and just sort of its own distinctive voice. So, you can definitely hear the 70s were not that long ago. It was actually recorded late in 79. It came out in 80, and this pressing was 82, I think. Yeah, it says copyright 80 and 82. I hope that's coming through on the thing. And that CD Baby doesn't own the rights to it, like they own everything else. CD Baby owns the Beatles, I think. Yeah, I didn't mention these guys are actually from Wichita, Kansas, which is maybe the most unlikely place for a really, really good metal band to come from, especially since they have sort of a Euro metal vibe to them. I guess Topeka might be a little bit more unlikely than Wichita. There's really nothing in Topeka. I've been there. No offense, Colin, if you're watching. Lawrence is a really nice town, but Topeka, not so much. It's a really crisp riff. It really still pretty 70s influence, but it's definitely metal. You know, it's not like sort of a hard rock band. So this is the second record. This is just called Metal. I'm going to pull it out so I can show it off. And this is also a Roadster, plain black cover. Same thing with the label too. This is the first one that has a printed inner, if I'm not mistaken. It's only printed on one side though. That's the lyrics. This one, I think I might have included this in my Doomy shit video, but this isn't really a Doomy sounding record. As much as it sounds really sort of distant in a weird way. It sounds like, even if you turn it up, it just kind of sounds like it's mixed at a weird distance, and it has sort of a little bit of a loner vibe to it, this record. It's really, it's also a really unusual one. This was actually the first one I ever got. This is their third record, Crystal Logic. And to this day, this is probably my favorite one. It's really one that I associate the most sort of significantly with them. This is also the first one that got licensed to Black Dragon in France. I also have a Roadster press of this one that I came across in the wild. And aside from the fact there's a different shade of red on the cover, one thing that's noticeable is that on the French edition of the Black Dragon one, they left one of the songs off side one. If you listen to it, it actually plays the same songs, but Feeling Free Again, which is probably the worst song they ever did, actually, isn't listed here. It's weird. That was like supposed to be a radio hit or something like that. It's really kind of poppy. What's weird about this one, too, is that these records have two really different mixes. Like I said, this is the first one I got, and the first version I got was the Black Dragon edition, which has a really weird mix. It sounds really sort of bright and kind of tinny even. And I'm actually going to play them side by side just so you can hear this for yourself. And hopefully it'll come through the camera. In any case, for a long time I thought that was just how they sounded, and then as I got more of their records and sort of, and their production tends to be a little bit sort of variable from record to record anyway, frankly. I just thought that was how this record sounded, and so then when I came across the Roadster version just sort of by accident and compared it, I was really kind of surprised. So I'm going to skip over the prologue and go to the first real song on this record, which is Necropolis. Now this is the Black Dragon one in blue vinyl. It's the wrong song. Oops. So I really want to hear this, so. Okay, here we go. Hear how weird his voice sounds? It's really pronounced the way this is produced. It's funny that I played the wrong song to start with, but there you go. Fooled myself on the banding. I confess up to my mistakes. You know, we do this shit in one take, so. The whole record's great. I could have left that other one run, but I already said it was Necropolis. I don't y'all think I'm a schmuck. So, I'll put that away in a minute. This is the Roadster version. This one has a printed inner sleeve as well. They're holding the sword like any good metal band should be. So this is on black vinyl with a different label. So it isn't in the greatest shape, but you hear how it's more sort of bottom end in that? And you still wouldn't confuse that for anyone else. That's obviously Mark Shelton singing. But he doesn't sound as sort of weird. I think it's one of the greatest songs ever. Anyway, I'll let that run. So this is the next one. This was, at this point, Crystal Logic came out on Roadster in the States, which is their own private label. And then on Black Dragon in France. The next two only came out on Black Dragon. So there's the Black Dragon logo on this one. This is Open the Gates. This one is more sort of in this style. If anything, the songs are even longer. They're probably really the same. I think it's the same number of songs on both these. No, this one only has 8, and that one has 9, I think. But you kind of hear that progressive thing kind of building out more. There was also a special version of this that had a special bonus 12-inch EP. And of course, I took the trouble to get that, fan that I am. So that's the 12-inch. And that's the other one. It's a great record. If you're new to Manilla Road, I would probably recommend any of these middle records. Either Crystal Logic, or Open the Gates, or this one right here, The Deluge, which is also Black Dragon. The lineup was pretty stable too. I mean, it was a 3-piece band for the most part. Yeah, it was Mark Shelton and then Scott Park on all these. There's a different drummer starting with Open the Gates. But yeah, those are great records. And the next one after that, this one came out then, I believe this came out on Black Dragon in France. But this also came out on Roadster in the States. This is Mystification. And this is the Roadster one. It was actually sealed when I got it. I got this one, you can still get them cheap. There's a catalog number, MR1004. Now I'm going to needle drop this one because this is the one, I sort of refer to this as a thrashy record in the other video where I showed this record. That's really probably an overstatement. That isn't really a thrash record, but it has some of that kind of thrash sound going on. Actually, I'm just going to deal with that later. Meaning, not so much the speed as much as sort of the production values and sort of the ethic of it, if that makes sense. So let me just fire this up for a sec. I actually played these the other day so I could listen to them again and be prepared to talk about them. And I was surprised at kind of how weak the production of this one was. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this way the hell up. That could totally be a thrash intro. But it's not really a thrash riff though. It's a pretty progressive riff. It could be a thrash song like slowed down, but it doesn't have like, you know, the buzzsaw picking, you know? Again, you hear it sounds like it's kind of mixed really far back. That's something I find really striking. That's something that this one has in common with metal. It sounds really sort of, there's just sort of an alien feel to it or something. It's that's great. I love this record. I love all these records. Actually, except for this one. Now that's the last 80s record that I own. This is Gates of Fire. This one, I actually don't know when this was recorded. It says 2005 on it, but I think that might be when it came out. Actually, this press is 2007. This is an earlier High Roller one. They actually did 2 pressings of this, and then they redid it again later. It sold out so fast. Because the only one I had that as a gatefold. No, that's not true. There's one more with a gatefold coming. Yeah, it's on red vinyl too. So you can go look that up and see if there's a first or second press. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it's second. This one is also the only one that has a different singer on some of the songs. And I gotta tell you, when I played this the other night, I played side 1. And the first song really kind of bummed me out a little bit because even though it was really good, it didn't sound like Manilla Road to me. Even though you could hear Mark Shelton singing parts of it, you heard the other guy who has more sort of kind of a conventional kind of metal singing style in this guy. Kind of more modern style too. And even though it was cool, it just didn't sound right. Now then the second song was sort of a slower song, which totally sounded like a Manilla Road slower song. And I'm trying not to say ballad, because it's not a ballad. It's just a more of an acoustic song. And then this third song is total Manilla Road too. So I probably need to spend a little more time with this record, really. And sort of give it its due. This is sort of a bit of a dark horse for me, though. Okay, so that's the last like regular record that I have. Kind of saving the special one for last. This is another High Roller release. This is After Midnight Live. And this is actually a live show that was recorded, according to this, in '79. So, I looked at the notes the other night, I don't remember now, but it was either right before or right after they had cut their first record. And there was a longer show, and they recorded the whole thing, and apparently it spanned 2 tapes, and one of the tapes just got lost. The one that still exists, though, is the one that has songs mostly that that didn't make the cut for the first record, so to speak. So it has 5 songs on it, which are long. I mean, this is an LP. But it's 5 like really early sort of songs in the style of that first record, Invasion. And it's recorded live in the studio. So it's definitely raw. It's not particularly produced or anything like that. It doesn't have like the audience sounds though. It does have an announcer at the beginning, sort of from the radio station saying some stuff. And it's an interesting record, and the songs are really cool. So the last one here is this one. This is Mark of the Beast. What this one actually was a record that was recorded between Invasion and Metal. And I'm actually going to fire it up for a minute because it's great. It's in a different style again from the earlier stuff, although it kind of leans more towards the Invasion sound than to the Metal sound that we just heard. It's probably their most Thin Lizzy-ish record, actually, which is appropriate given the cover art, which I'll show off a little better in a minute. Apparently, though, they recorded like a whole record's worth of stuff and then just decided they liked what they were going to put on metal more. So they did metal. There are actually some liner notes in there by Phil Baker from Monster Records at the time, which was, pre-Rockadrome. And apparently they've been sitting on this thing and trying to get Mark to let him release it. And finally the time was right when this came out. I actually talked with Phil fairly often about the time when they were getting ready to do this release. And I remember how proud he was of the fact that they got Jim Fitzpatrick, who had done the art for a couple Thin Lizzy records, to do this awesome cover. I mean, that's just so epic. And this is a 2-record set. And, yeah, it's kind of apparently Phil's favorite record ever. So in my mind, it's sort of like his swan song since this happened not too long before he left us. So go ahead and fire this up. It's Thin Lizzy. This is Thin Lizzy-ish, I think, as far as sort of the playing and the writing to a certain degree. But it doesn't get lost in the storytelling the way a lot of Thin Lizzy records for me do. I mean, I like Thin Lizzy. We're back? Mm-hmm. Alright, we had a little mishap there, but we're good. But as you can hear, this is more mellow. This is really probably their most thoughtful record. And it's interesting because I love this record, but it took me a few listens to really sort of assimilate it, partially because it's so long, and partially because stylistically it's so, I don't know, the word I keep coming back to in my head is thoughtful. So anyway, there's a gatefold, it's the lyrics for everything. But that cover is really... So that's my Thin Lizzy Thin Lizzy. Bullshit. That's my Manilla Road collection. There are several more records. I definitely don't know everything. The releases definitely got more sort of spotty through the 90s and the 2000s. I think they even split up for a while, then got back together. But there are probably half a dozen more that I don't have. So they've been pretty prolific. And if you're not familiar with them, I'd suggest you rectify that, because it's a band that doesn't immediately grab you the way, an Iron Maiden record might grab you, but it's definitely worth putting the extra time into them and sort of like listening to it, because these guys bear repeated listens. I mean, I've been a Manilla Road fan for long enough that these records were still cheap, probably 15 years, something like that, and I keep coming back to these over and over again, and I just enjoy them more and more every time I listen to them. So, as I've got to say about Manilla Road, and thanks for indulging me as always. Till next time.